Gentlemen, welcome back to the shop. Cue cheesy guitar riff from the scumbags at the homeless death spot. A Ridgid palm impact screwdriver, plucked from the excreted boilerplate of their own market wanketeering department. Ridgid, thinking outside the box. Their first foray into sex toys. Who am I to judge? Everybody got a dry decade. Dude, somebody took the trigger guard off. "10 inches. This, of course, is the AEG brand with a slight modification made by TTI Industries in Hong Kong. Well, in China. Time! I'll put this thing on the charge air on account of the lithium chemistry is quite finicky and it prefers to be stored in a not... Oh, it says it's fully charged. Well, that's interesting. Okay. I'll just remove my foot from my boot and take it out of my mouth. Now, on its face, this is a terrible idea. And the balance on that is all the meat of her is here. And of course, when you're pushing on something, you're pushing on the palm heel here. Ha! So that's a strange balance, but this is a terrible idea in my opine. Push to drive technology, pressure sensitive variable. They control the speed by how hard you're pushing. Here's the problem with that. The harder you press, the faster it goes. But when you're trying not to cam something out, you want to press hard as fuck and you want it to go really slow. This does the exact opposite of what you would want. Ridgid, of course, is a venerable and trusted brand in the turd herder trade, mechanical as well. That's plumbers. I'm not disparaging plumbers. They save more lives than doctors, cholera being what it is. But this is not that Ridgid. That Ridgid is owned by Emerson, and they license the name out to TTI or possibly the homeless death spot. And then TTI Industries, what owns Cryobi, Milwaukee, Hoover, Dirt Vac, all sorts of big brands, has these manufactories in China, and then they rebrand them for the local market. So in this case, they make Ridgid, which they license from Emerson, just the name, mind. And in other localities, such as the continent, or basically anywhere other than Norte America, they get AEG written on them. Not much in the difference, particularly, just change the label. And much like Lowe's in the United States of America, this is a house brand. Lowe's, of course, has Cobalt and a homeless death spot. Oh, fucking go. Oh, no. Hit the jackpot. Buy a lottery ticket, boys. We found her. And I don't know what Maynard's has. No idea. We don't have Maynard's here, but we do have Rona, and they don't have their own house brand. They run DeWalt, and I don't think they have Milwaukee. Oh, double-sided. Wow, look at that. A double-ender sex toy. Starting off a little advanced for us neophytes. The half clamshell off here, in keeping with its branding, and much to the delight, I'm sure, of wood elves everywhere. This is very Ridgid. It's an important dimension if you're going to fuck your. This is PA6 glass fiber reinforced, 30% TPS and SEBS, so it's got styrene. It's a blend here. I'm going to put some sort of solvent on there and see what happens. A lot of times you get into more greasier outfits and this countenance will come right off on you. We got some non-chlorinated brake clean. We're going to give her a little chooch right here. And then we got a mean bastard paint stripper. This ought to do her. Put lead in your pencil or make it fall off. See how that does. And that is stinkier as frig, so I'm going to put it outside. Now you have a look at that. That is a real tight design. You stick that Steve Jobs style in an aquarium and you're not going to get too many bubbles out of her. This they put a lot of work into getting this as compact as possible. She's tight, a little small. Look at the size of the motor. I mean, fuck all to her. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't see any switches on here. It's going to be interesting to see how they actually switch. Oh, best put these balls for safekeeping in my wife's purse. Works for me. I get them back when I ask for them. Nicely. Where was I? Balls. Yeah, no thanks. So we got Texas Instruments little confuser here. We've got some Celastic over a through-hole component, big gob of it, and I'm wondering if they're trying to keep that in place or if they're just trying to hide it. So if it does shit the bed, you can't fix it. Apparently these are warranted for life. However, I'm too much of a Luddite to register online, and if you don't register and put in your firstborn as collateral, they will not warranty it. Also, they only warranty the tool. Apparently, correct me if I'm wrong here, the batteries are lifetime, but only the batteries what come with the tool. So if you buy extra batteries, you're hooped. Does that make sense? I think that's right. As I say, I never register, so I can't warranty it if you're not registered. That's how they get you. That's slippage or breakage or whatever kind of double speak term you want to use. Oh, that's not a fuse. That is a diode, a protection diode, a reverse polarity protection diode appears to be. And she's just a little tiny guy. Conveniently labeled for us. We're just doing the old Indiana Jones hysterography with a bullwhip routine. This is an RT, so that's a thermistor. The thermistor now, as it gets more current through it, its resistance goes up. It chokes off the current. So if something were to short in here and the current goes too high, then this would limit the amount of current going through. It's a protection mechanism. Framing, you fuck! There we go. See? Right there. RT1. Now the board's not too crusty. Ace brand MOSFETs looks to be in an H-bridge configuration. So the trigger is not actually switching the leads. It's running an H-bridge. No external heat sinking. They're using all these via pads in order to sink the heat. Here we can see that's the shunt resistor to see how much current is, to measure how much current is going into the tool. You can see here, probably not very much by the size of the motor. A couple little things I don't really like here. Let's see if we're even in frame. Oh yeah, okay. We get some dingle-dangling happening here. The conductor's tinned and not soldered onto the lead. Some pinchy stuff happening here, but it's want to happen because it's so tight in there. Now here's something interesting. So we have the forward reverse just on this switch, on this slide switch. So why do we have so many leads going down into the confuser? Got to be something else going on with this guy. So a clue. As any Frenchman, good Frenchman will tell you, if all you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like a clue. Here's the micro switch, what enables, disables, or energizes, de-energizes the whole thing. However, we have a monolithic IC permeated in it's some sort of prefamulated amulite. The real clue, though, neodymium magnet. And someone has gone in here with a Sharpie and told us which end is which. There's a red notch there, so south or north or whatever, but it doesn't appear to do the old in, out. We appear to be working on some sort of torsional force wherein the angle of the dangle affects the heat of the meat. More study, of course, is required when we're talking about mass of the ass. We're gonna have some fun here as needs be. And it's delayed the prophylaxis. I got my 2 kids, boy and a girl. Although, call me old-fashioned. Worrying about that shit, that's kind of a pink ticket job. And demonetized. We got a magnet. Oh yeah, and the other option is no option at all. Recovery. You'll be recovered in 2 days. Yeah, fuck that fucking noise, you will be. I learn from other people's mistakes. Okay, so in that regard anyway, when pain is involved, pain and suffering of the male apparatus, we're gonna get the battery in here, and then we're gonna try not to let the smoke out, and we'll get the magnet on her and see what happens. Yeet. Oh, I got that in. Maybe tape this down too. How's that sound? How's that grab you, Bob? We're gonna see if this is the cock for Dolly. Sometimes, you can't just straight up ask her. You gotta kind of poke and prod. See what she takes to. Oh, oh yeah. Now in this case, the closer we get, let's move that magnet a little further down, increase the flux. Normally, there's no flux given, but in this case, yeah, I gotta manually stimulate that. Now the question is, the closer we get, the higher the flux density, the faster it goes. Being a male sex toy, very interesting trigger mechanism, and that eliminates the 200-pound gorilla on the trigger because we're actuating with a magnetic field. So there's no physical connection there. Very likely extremely robust because you eliminate the moron pulling the trigger. One thing I do not like, we're going to get into this section here. This is the impactor section. You see this, but 2 fasteners, and they're in a line. So you always want it, if you can get away with it, if you have 3, and that way you have a triangle, and the triangle is nice and strong, as witnessed by struts and beams everywhere. Or no, beam does not have struts. In any case, you can see just with my hands there, I'm squeezing, I'm pulling that right away from where it should be. Now we got the hammering end off, and this gets bloody hot, so it's interesting in a bad way that they've gone with the plastique. They have chosen the plastique for higher heat capability. This is a PA66 and glass fiber reinforced 50%. Here's the anvil. Little wee tangs on the anvil. So not built for a whole lot of torque, but you don't want to be twisting off all your end bits all the time. You got to save that for a special occasion. For the size of this 1/4 inch hex driver, nice big steel bush in here, a little bit of grease, and then this has also, you can see, we haven't used this yet. I haven't used this, but you're starting to get some fretting already on that OD ground shaft there. There are the dogs, just little wee dogs, but just a little wee hammer on there too. This impactor mechanism on the lower torque high speed drives are all the same. It doesn't matter on creed, color, religion. What you have is a motor driving through, in this case, a 90-degree gearbox, very likely a planetary gear set, a single reduction, drives a shaft. That shaft spins all of this guy. So all the weight, all the hammer, and here is the end, what gets the bit. These have dogs that engage on the hammer. Now this hammer is spinning away. This guy is stationary. This anvil is stationary. So being that it's stationary, at some point it is going to hit. And when it does hit, the motor is still turning, but it needs to overcome the spring tension in order to get up and over these dogs. The spring tension, remember this center shaft is still turning. So what happens is this anvil or this hammer moves away, back and away from the dogs, up and over. Ooh, like this. Like that. And now it's free to spin another half rotation until it hammers on here. Now, interestingly, when we machined away a Makita, say, I don't know, a year ago to see what was happening, the torque was really dependent on the harmonics of the entire system. So this has to be engineered and tested to get the proper hit. And what happens is you end up missing the harmonics of all this moving around, bouncing around. You end up swinging up and over, or kind of just slapping this instead of really giving it a proper hit if you're not at full speed. Now, this thing does not want to come out. It's spring loaded in there somehow. It looks like it's retained by this itty bitty titty circlip here. So we'll sort the fly shit from the pepper. And oh Jesus, the size of her. Wow. Now, quite telling in here is the quality of the components. None of these are forged. None of these are all metal injection molded parts. There is some additional processing, an additional process to grind that OD, but bog standard metal injection, we see same thing with the hammer. So these are all sintered particles, what have been sintered together. Bog standard here, not a hypoid, but just a spiral bevel gear set. Hypoid, of course, would have the input pinion off, not directly through the center axis. It'd be off to one side. That allows you, like in car differentials, that allows you to move the drive shaft closer, higher up, so you got better clearance there. It compacts the thing down. Nice big pinion. No probably about it. There's a roller bearing in there, shielded roller bearing. There'd be a small little roller bearing in this front side as well. And then on the back side, you see a tiny little roller bearing. This must be just for the actuation. So you see by the size of the ball, she ain't too robust, but it doesn't need to be because it's only got about a maybe 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter shaft there. Well, partner, a fucking spacing fault means that the chairs were too close together. How did the chairs get too close together? The cable clamps failed. They slipped. So you have human beings on this paying big bucks. Oh, son of a diddly. Not my finest hour. Wrapped a little, focus, you fuck. Thank you. Getting her trained up. Stuck a little copper wire on there and then some Wiener Steifen. Oh, the Sullivan's flashed off. Have a look at it. Oh, it's still in good nick. Hasn't, I guess it needs more time, or it's reasonably chemically inert. And the mark of a decent tool is taking it apart and the clamshell goes back together proper. And that clacked right in. Whoopsie doodles. We do it nice, because we do it twice. Oh, just about impaled my fingy. Is that looking fucked to you? Yeah, you pull that back and then I don't know. Surely nothing a midlife conversion to Judaism can't fix. That's the trouble, eh? You got to be smarter than what you're fixing. Not so fucking tough now, are you? You slow us down, but you can't fuck us over. You're gonna see if she works, or half a turn fart lets the smoke out. Oh, come on. Oh. Yeah, you're right. What kind of a fella leaves a guy hanging? At least give him a reach around. I think we may have it. What did I see in there? Well, nothing. I took her A part. Oh, wrong one. Took her A part and gave her a little Fonzarelli tap. I bet you she works now. That little micro switch didn't seem to be engaging. It wasn't clickety-clacking. So I bent the spring that engages it. I might have bent it on the way out, so I bent it back. Now it's got an S-curve in it, but at least it's clickety-clacking. All right. Ah! What the fuck? Oh, weird. Very strange. So looks like that micro switch is looking for a change of state. It's looking for a 1 or a 0. And if it doesn't get it, like if we do this, we go locked. Now we turn it on, she won't go. But if we do this, rather leave it in, then it goes. So I fucked something up. Holy fuck. It's really slow. It doesn't have near enough torque. Not even close. As witnessed by the anemic motor. This is for doing nails at the salon or something. Sometimes a certain something catches you right in the eye. A glint. Makes you think, maybe. Just maybe. But then, it only takes the one screw to find out. It ain't for you. No fucking torque, you. Thanks for watching. Keep your dick in a vice. My old friend apples meet oranges. Uh-oh.